The morning air was crisp, the kind of mountain chill that made every breath feel sharp and alive. The sun was still climbing over the ridges, painting the peaks in orange and gold. At the base of the trailhead, a group of eager tourists gathered, snapping photos of backpacks and water bottles, adjusting their hiking boots and trading nervous jokes about bears. Leading them was Daniel Hayes, a local man who had grown up in these hills. He wasn't a licensed guide in the professional sense, but everyone in town knew him. Daniel had hiked every trail since he was a kid, and visitors often paid him a little cash to show them the safest routes. He didn't see it as a business, more like neighborly help, a way to share the mountains he loved. That morning, the group numbered 6. They were strangers to one another, bound only by a shared spirit of adventure. Some were fit, experienced hikers, while others looked like they'd spent more time on treadmills than trails. Daniel took it in stride. He explained the route, warned them to stay close, and reminded them of the golden rule. Nobody gets left behind. But by nightfall, one person was missing. What happened on that mountain? Was it a tragic accident that no one could have prevented? Or had Daniel, the man everyone trusted, failed in his duty? The case would divide the community, spark heated arguments online, and eventually end up in a courtroom. The hike began with laughter. Cameras clicked as the group wound through forest trails, where sunlight filtered in beams through tall pines. Daniel carried a first aid kit and a radio clipped to his belt. He pointed out landmarks, old cabins, deer tracks in the mud, a ridge where hawks circled overhead. But it didn't take long before one hiker lagged behind. Her name was Melissa, a 27-year-old from out of state who had joined the trip on a whim. She wasn't unfit, but she clearly wasn't prepared for the steep incline. Her backpack straps dug into her shoulders, and she paused often, gulping water as her cheeks flushed red. "Take your time," Daniel reassured her, slowing the pace for the group. By midday, they reached a lookout point. The view was spectacular, a sea of mountains rolling into the horizon, with valleys below like deep green rivers. They stopped for lunch, spreading snacks across rocks and logs. Spirits were high, but as they prepared to continue, Melissa asked, "How much farther?" Daniel hesitated. The trail loop was another 4 hours round trip. He looked at her pale face, at the way her hands trembled when she unscrewed her water bottle. "You can stay here if you'd like," he suggested. "We'll loop back this way and pick you up." Melissa nodded, relieved. She insisted she'd be fine. The group debated, but Daniel, trusted, confident, said it was safe. She had her phone, plenty of water, and the trailhead wasn't far, so they left her there. When they returned hours later, the rock was empty. Melissa was gone. At first, Daniel wasn't alarmed. Maybe she'd gotten impatient and started walking back to the parking lot. But when they reached the trailhead, she wasn't there either. Calls went unanswered. Night was falling. That sharp mountain air turned icy in the dark, and panic spread among the group. Search teams were called. Volunteers scoured the woods with flashlights. Helicopters circled overhead. For days, the mountains echoed with Melissa's name, but no answer came. Her backpack was later found near a ravine, torn open, as if dropped in a rush. A shoe was discovered half a mile away. But Melissa herself, she was gone. The tragedy shocked the small town. But what shocked people more was the question that followed. Who was to blame? Prosecutors painted Daniel as reckless. They argued he had abandoned his responsibility as a guide by leaving Melissa behind. He wasn't licensed, he had no formal training, and yet he'd taken money from strangers to lead them on a difficult trail. He promised safety, the prosecutor said. Instead, he gambled with a young woman's life. But Daniel's defense told another story. They insisted Melissa had made her own choice to stay behind, and Daniel had trusted her judgment. He wasn't a professional, just a local helping tourists. No one forced Melissa to come on the hike. No one forced her to separate from the group. This was a tragedy, the defense argued. But tragedy does not equal crime. The town split in two. Some said Daniel was a scapegoat, unfairly blamed for something beyond his control. Others demanded accountability, pointing out that a trained guide would never have left someone alone on the trail. The jury faced a haunting question. Was Daniel guilty of negligence, or simply a man caught in the cruel grip of fate? Even years later, hikers pause at the lookout point where Melissa was last seen. Some say they feel her presence there, a ghost of unfinished adventure. Daniel, whether guilty or not, would never escape that day, and the question still lingers. When does responsibility end and tragedy simply begin? Guilty or not? For more chilling true crime cases, subscribe to our channel, Guilty or Not.